Hey everybody, welcome back to The Sauce. I'm AnnMarie, and if this is your first time here, welcome. It is Sunday, and because, it is the Lord's Day, I thought, why not, wear something appropriate for the podcast. So it's my Thou Shalt Not Try Me shirt. It's my favorite verse from the Book of Mood, 24/7. So, yeah, I figured that was appropriate. And of course, some Sunday scary hair, just to kind of round out the outfit. So I hope you've had a great weekend. We still have a little bit of time left, so let's have a few laughs, hang out, have some fun. Grab your coffee, your emotional support beverage of choice, get comfortable, because today, y'all, as usual, I have thoughts. Of course I do. But before we get into today's main topic, I wanted to do something different. I'm calling it What's in the Sauce. So let's see what is in the sauce this week. A little something new to add to the Sunday show where I dip a little toe into my first true love, which is reality TV. Usually centered around Bravo, mostly Real Housewives, but a lot of shows are fair game. To be honest, I live for everything pop culture and entertainment and reality TV. So these are the stories that caught my attention and took up way too much space in my brain. So now I'm going to make them your problem. You're welcome. Let's go. Can we talk about the fact that NeNe Leakes is officially back in the Bravo universe? Because Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Roaring 20th is bringing her back after years away from Bravo. And I am so excited. And it is about time. You can love NeNe, you can hate NeNe, you can think she's absolutely exhausting. And all of these things can actually be true, depending on the episode. But you cannot talk about the history of the Real Housewives without talking about NeNe Leakes. I mean, that woman gave reality television approximately 47% of its reaction memes. There are people using NeNe memes who probably couldn't even identify Atlanta on the map. And that is cultural impact. So Bravo is bringing her back. Mazel to you, Andy Cohen, because sometimes these networks try so hard to reinvent something when the answer was sitting right there the whole time. Give me the women who made me watch the damn show in the first place. I still want to know what they're doing, even though, it's been a while. I want the, rekindling of friendships and, the maybe the separation of others, and to see how things change as the women have grown and changed. I mean, it's still fascinating for someone like me who is just such a fan. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I want to know from my housewives people, if there's any housewives fans out there, who is the one housewife you would bring back tomorrow? And any city, any season, dead or alive. Okay, wait, not dead. Jesus, Anne-Marie. You know what I mean. I got excited. But moving on, before I get canceled during doing an episode about social media behavior. America's first idol, my love, superstar Kelly Clarkson, I love her so much, almost had herself a wardrobe malfunction during her Las Vegas show this weekend. Apparently her shirt blew up, she caught it, and then made a joke about her boobs. And this is exactly why I love Kelly Clarkson. Fame has not changed her. What else are you supposed to do? You're standing on stage, thousands of people are watching you. Your shirt decides it's had enough and attempts to leave the building. You have two options. One of two options. Either you panic or make a joke about your tits. And Kelly chose correctly. And, frankly, at this age, if gravity gives you one good moment, girl, celebrate it. I'm not fighting nature anymore. But God bless Kelly. She has always had that thing where she feels like somebody you'd actually want to sit next to at the barbecue, right? Famous as hell, but still somehow giving, girl, you're not going to believe what just happened to me. I appreciate that. I just love her genuine self. She's the best. All right, and finally, Jax Taylor. Because apparently that man woke up and thought, you know what? My life needs more complication. So, if you don't know who this is, Jax Taylor starred in Vanderpump Rules on Bravo, and there's where he met his lovely ex wife, or soon to be ex wife, I'm not sure, Brittany Cartwright. They were on the show together, and then afterward, I think they were canceled. You know that weird moment in time where when everybody was getting canceled for shit that they said like 15 years ago on X, and people were digging up things because they had nothing better to do because the whole world shut down. Remember that? Yeah. Then they came back, I don't know, a couple years ago, on this new show. They resurfaced on this new show, The Valley, which is such a snooze fest. I don't care what you say. It is horrible. And I could watch almost anything. And I could not. I got through one season and I was done. But anyway, they have had a tumultuous relationship from the jump. But what has happened, or what has been discovered this week, is next fucking level. So apparently now Jax is dating his publicist, Lori Krebs. Yes, his publicist, who also worked with Brittany. And Brittany has now weighed in on this relationship and basically said that she hopes they're absolutely miserable. And listen, should we wish misery on other people? Yeah, probably not. Do I understand the sentiment? Absolutely. Because Jax, of all the women, your publicist, this is the person who's supposed to be helping you manage the mess, not joining the cast of it. That's like your marriage counselor going, you know what, let me just take it from here. And apparently, Brittany had even considered Lori a friend. Oh, no. See, now we've entered different territory because there are billions of people walking around this planet. You couldn't find one who wasn't already in the group chat. You know, here's my favorite part. She's a publicist. A publicist. So, your entire profession is basically, how is this going to look? The optics of it all. And at no point did anyone in the situation ask, hey, how is this going to look? Apparently not. And I know somebody's going to say, AnnMarie, they were separated. Thou shalt not try me. I know. I'm not saying anybody cheated. Okay? I'm saying it's messy. And sometimes something can be perfectly allowed and still make you go, girl, really? Those are two completely different legal systems. So Brittany saying she hopes they're miserable, I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying, I understand how we arrived at the station. Because if my soon to be ex husband started dating somebody I considered a friend, I'd probably have some thoughts too. And having a podcast, everybody would know them immediately. And that is what's in the sauce this week, y'all. NeNe is back where she belongs, back home to Bravo. Kelly Clarkson's shirt almost filed for emancipation, and Jax Taylor apparently decided his divorce needed a plot twist. That's a pretty productive week. And those are the things that are currently taking up space in my brain without paying rent. You're welcome. All right, let's get into today's sauce because speaking of social media completely losing its fucking mind, and I mean that with all due respect, we need to talk about Perez Hilton. And more importantly, we need to talk about us. Okay? Before we go any further, I really want to say something about the whole Perez Hilton situation. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here's a brief recap. Without getting into too much detail, Perez Hilton is a celebrity gossip blogger. It's been around for at least like 20 years. I remember way back in the early 2000s, he had a website where he would report, celebrity gossip and different things, right? So apparently he had a psychotic break earlier this week. And while he was on TikTok Live, he was naked and wielding a large knife. He was covered in blood and apparently had been self harming. Authorities were contacted and he was finally taken by emergency services. And honestly, what a mess. And whatever your opinion is about Perez, that's actually not the point I'm making. My heart genuinely goes out to him and his family during such a tragic time. I wish him nothing but a full recovery and healing. But watching everything unfold got me thinking about something that I wondered for a long time. Where is the consistency? Little fun fact, my husband and I actually were founders of a creator network on TikTok geared toward conservative political creators. We did it for about a year. So I had a front row seat to how this platform works. I watched conservative political creators get their live stream shut down almost instantly because they said one wrong word. I watched people rack up violations over things that seemed incredibly minor. I've watched accounts get permanently banned. And I had a front row seat to all this because I was the one fighting for them. Filing appeals, trying to get live streams restored, trying to get accounts reinstated. Accounts that people had had for years, but tens, if not hundreds of thousands of followers. Sometimes we won, a lot of times we didn't. So when I ask where's the consistency, I'm not asking as somebody sitting on the outside looking in. I've lived it. Meanwhile, other content stays up forever. Case in point, this video, this unfortunate video of this person suffering this horrible, mental break. The platform allowed the video to continue for over 30 minutes before it was finally shut down. It's a long time and a lot of viewers and a lot of eyes and a lot of impact, a lot of reach, especially for someone that is already high profile. Some creators get warnings, some don't, some get banned. Some seem completely untouchable. And I can't help but wonder, is there actually one standard? Or are the different standards depending on who's posting? Because from where I sit, it doesn't always make sense. If the platform says certain types of content violate the rules, then those rules should apply the same way, whether you have 100 followers or 100,000 or 100 million. Otherwise, people stop trusting the system. And once people stop trusting the system, everything else starts to fall apart. But here's the thing. As frustrating as that is, the platform is only half the story. Because what really caught my attention wasn't just what happened, as tragic as it was how people reacted. That's what today's episode is really about. Not politics, not Perez, not TikTok. Us. It's about us. Because this week, I posted one of those current event stories on my political account. It wasn't me on camera, it was not a rant. It wasn't even me giving my opinion. It was basically a factual headline about a news story. As of today, it is sitting at close to 250,000 views, which is wild. And honestly pretty cool. But then the comments, y'all, I swear, some people weren't even commenting on the same post. Some people were asking thoughtful questions. Some added context, some respectfully disagreed. Some were thankful that the story, was brought to their attention, and that's great. Even some people, agreed to disagree on certain things, and that's exactly what social media is supposed to be. And then there were the other comments, the people arguing with things that weren't even in the post, people correcting information with incorrect information, people arguing with each other, people making assumptions about me based on one headline, you know. And I just sat there thinking, what is happening? Not with politics, with us. Because that's when it hit me. People don't just consume content anymore. They consume whatever version of it already exists in their own head. And before anybody gets defensive, I'm not pointing fingers. We've all done it. I've done it. You've probably done it. We read a headline, fill in the blanks ourselves, and then decide how we feel before we even know the whole story. Think about that. I've done that. Half the time we're not responding to what's actually in front of us. We're responding to what we assume someone meant, or what someone else told us it meant, or what we already decided it meant before we even finished reading it. I don't even know if people actually watch videos anymore. I think they watch the first 7 seconds, get emotionally activated, skip straight to the comments, and then start typing with the confidence of somebody who personally wrote the Constitution. It is unbelievable. And before anybody says, well, that's politics. No, no, it's not. Go read the comments on a recipe, a dog video, a Costco haul. Hell, somebody could post a golden retriever rescuing a baby, and there'd still be somebody in the comments saying, oh, that's got to be AI or fake, or something similarly weird. It's like social media completely eliminated impulse control. If you walked up to somebody in real life and said half of the shit people say online, you'd probably get smacked. Online, everybody's 10 feet tall. Doesn't matter if you're 16 or 76, rich or broke, famous or anonymous. It's a level playing field for fuckery. It's the fucking Wild West. And seriously, here's an idea. Attention, Meta, TikTok, Elon Musk. Hell, I'll even call you out, President Trump. How is there not a 10-second rule? Where's that feature? You're about to hit post, and suddenly a little pop-up appears. You sure you want to say that? Maybe go drink some water, take a lap around the block, actually read the article, call your mother. Then come back, because some of y'all are you're commenting like it's an Olympic event. And here's the thing. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. Honestly, I would be worried if they did. Different opinions make life interesting. Disagreement isn't the problem, disrespect is. Somewhere along the way, we stopped disagreeing and we started trying to destroy. It's no longer, I see it differently. Now, it's, you're an idiot. You're the problem. I hope you lose everything. I'm going to show up at your house with my, I mean, over a social media post. We've confused having access to someone's thoughts with having permission to attack their character. And social media rewards it. The louder you are, the meaner you are, the more outrageous you are, the more attention you get. The algorithm is basically like, ooh, people are fighting? Fabulous. Let's invite another 100,000 people. And then everybody wonders why the internet feels angry all the time. I mean, or is it just me? But but just to maybe, lighten things up a little, can we also talk about the people who dramatically announce they're leaving social media? I always laugh. Not because I don't understand wanting a break, believe me. Sometimes I think we all need one, and it's a good idea. It's healthy. But the announcement always cracks me up. After much thought, I've decided to leave Facebook. Linda, you're not stepping down as Speaker of the House. It's fine. Go ahead. There's not going to be a farewell parade. Nobody's lowering the flag to half staff. Okay? And there will not be an exit interview. Go in peace. This isn't prison. You don't have to escape. You know? Just close the fucking app, Linda. Could you imagine Aunt Sally standing up at Thanksgiving dinner and announcing, I would, with the glass thing, I would just like everyone to know I'm taking a break from Facebook. No. You just disappear for a little while. We'll figure it out. And then 3 days later, they're back. They can't help themselves. They can't stay away. They're posting a blurry picture of what looks like a salad, and then the caption, life is short. Welcome back, Aunt Sally. We knew you'd be here. Can't help ourselves. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah, humanity. Wait, here's another thing I've noticed. Some people aren't looking for information. They're looking for confirmation. They scroll until they find somebody who already agrees with them. And if they don't, they argue. Not because they're curious, because they want to win. Whatever happened to saying, huh? I didn't know that. Seriously, when did learning something new become losing? When did changing your mind become weakness? When did curiosity become now so rare? I miss conversations. I miss asking questions and, hearing someone else's perspective without immediately trying to score points or have a gotcha moment. Because here's the reality. You don't have to agree with someone to hear them out. And, maybe you don't have to have an opinion on absolutely everything 5 seconds after seeing a headline. Maybe marinate with it, for a minute. Let it sink in. Yeah, and then decide. The internet has connected us to millions of people, but somehow we've forgotten there's an actual human being on the other side of that screen. Not a username, not a profile picture, a person, someone with a family, a career, a bad day, a life outside of whatever, 30-second clip you happen to scroll past. So here's my question for you. Do you think social media has actually made people meaner? Or has it simply given mean people a microphone? Present company excluded. Because honestly, I'm still trying to figure that out. And maybe the consistency we've been looking for isn't only something we should be demanding, from TikTok. Maybe some of it starts with us. Before we hit post, before we hit send, or write that comment. Maybe every once in a while we need to have our own little 10-second rule, or say to ourselves, sure you want to say this? And listen, sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes they fucking deserve it. I'm not trying to turn us into saints here. All right? Just because it's Sunday. This is the sauce. This is not Bible study. But maybe every once in a while, take the 10 seconds. Let me know what you think in the comments, because I really do read them. I do, all of them. Even if they're not nice, I'll read them anyway. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love it if you would subscribe, leave a review, comment, share it with a friend. New episodes air every Wednesday and Sunday, wherever you listen to podcasts. Full video episode is on my YouTube, and you can say hi to me on TikTok, Instagram, and I have a Facebook group. Everything is at The Sauce with AnnMarie. Friends, thanks for being here. It is so much fun. I am living my best life doing this, and I can't thank you enough for watching and hanging out. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you Wednesday.